We'll start with that. That's basically a piece of uranium ore. And this particular piece came out of the Whirlwind mine. This is the rock that will be crushed in the mill and turned in ultimately to the product, which is yellowcake, that the utility used to create heat in the reactor.
George Glazier has a plan for this area of rangeland in western Colorado. He wants to capitalize on renewed interest in nuclear energy by tapping into the region's uranium.
Hope to build a mill, uranium mill, the first uranium mill to be built in the United States in over 20 years.
This is Kirk Johnson. I'm the Denver Bureau Chief. I'm here in the San Miguel Valley in western Colorado. A debate is raging now over milling's return that would bring mining back as well.
Mr. Glazier is the founder of Energy Fuels, which is now awaiting a state ruling on whether it can build a uranium mill that would look like this. Nuclear power is now being seriously reconsidered, even by some environmentalists.
If we're going to cut our carbon output, we need to do it partially with nuclear.
To many here, the mill could mean a return to the flush days of uranium boom's past, when mill and mining work was plentiful.
There was standing room only in the late 70s, early 80s in the bars and the cafes.
But to others, the idea of a renewed dependence on uranium is cause for concern.
I like to call it nuclear energy our next least worst alternative.
Craig Perazzi, who lives a few miles from the proposed processing site, is a member of the environmental group opposed to the mill.
There are, as you can see, a lot of impacts that come with nuclear power. There's a lot of things that people don't see not living in a uranium mining area, the health effects that were in the past, and the environmental damage which you can see.
This area was once the uranium mill town of Uravan. The federal government raised and buried it beginning in the mid-1980s after declaring it too contaminated with radioactive dust for human habitation. All that is left now is the remediation site and a few signs saved by former residents.
Was on the outside of Uravan, when you come in.
Sharon Johansson was born in Uravan and grew up in a family of uranium workers.
We were here at the height of uranium. That was the height in the 70s. And so there were families, oh my gosh, families everywhere, and yeah. And they all just one by one had to leave.
Ms. Johansson now lives in Nukla, one of a handful of small towns here that have been suffering since the collapse of uranium prices in the 1980s. She and many other residents are hopeful that the mill will bring economic stability back to the area.
We desperately need it.
We've already lost one school.
Oh, really?
We don't need to lose any more.
No.
And we need to have jobs. And this would create a lot of jobs.
The mill and the mines that would reopen to supply uranium could bring as many as 300 jobs into the depressed rural area. Backers insist that stringent regulations will ensure safety and environmental health.
They said this is going to be one of the only mills like this in the whole United States, and I think that, we've come really far, as people, in period. It's not going to be back like it was in the 1950s.
But some veterans of the uranium business are wary.
We were told that the uranium would never hurt us. I've learned a whole lot about it. That it's hurt a lot of people and killed a lot of people.
Reed Hayes knows firsthand the dangers of uranium processing. About 40 years ago, he fell while working in a mill in Utah.
And all of a sudden I dropped 12 feet into a big thickener tank with yellow cake, nitric acid, sulfuric acid, and caustic soda and ammonia.
Mr. Hayes says he still suffers from debilitating rashes.
If they put another mill in here, I hope they have a lot better safety record and better conditions than we had.
Everyone here knows that uranium production can be dangerous, but in an area with few other resources, many are willing to take the chance.
But we're all willing to go back in that hole and work until we do die, just so we can be employed.
These towns are to even survive, they need economic activity. We don't have anything else. So the natural resources of the uranium are the key to get this area going once again.
We definitely want the mill, and that would be the most positive outcome.
Yeah, we need it. We really need it. I don't know.